On today's show, how the Houston Rockets are 7-1, an NBA best record in the month of March, despite losing their best player, Alperen Sengun, their chances of making the Western Conference play-in tournament, and why Ime Udoka deserves some Coach of the Year considerations. It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free, because LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals that you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive, because LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And now, as the host of Locked On Rockets, it's me, Jackson Gatlin, who you can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets. Here to break down the Houston Rockets' 7-1 record, an NBA best in the month of March, despite losing their best player in Alperen Sengun. So why are the Houston Rockets so hot right now, riding a 5-game win streak, including some wins over the Phoenix Suns, the Sacramento Kings, and most recently, a very good Cleveland Cavaliers team with a top 3 defense in the association? Well, coming out of the All-Star break, the Rockets kind of changed their emphasis offensively. Pre-All-Star break, Ime Udoka was tasked with turning around one of the NBA's worst defenses, and he's made them a top 10 defense this season. But in order to do that, he really had to minimize areas on the floor where errors could occur. And a lot of that meant not playing fast, not playing in transition, slowing things down to almost a crawl offensively, and really playing a lot in the half court and playing almost exclusively through Alperen Sengun, their best player this season. And that kind of, neutralized and minimized some of the impact that some of the young athletes on this Rockets team can have. Guys like Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, and Cam Whitmore, guys who really thrive when getting out and running in transition. But going into the All-Star break and then coming out of the All-Star break, the Rockets pre-All-Star break were playing at about middle of the pack as far as NBA pace is concerned. Since that point, post All-Star break, the Rockets are top 3 in the NBA in pace, only trailing the Wizards and the Toronto Raptors. Basically, they've sped things up at a considerable amount in order to get those guys opportunities out in transition, to really open the game up for them and generate those easy opportunities. Because when you're trying to turn one of the worst defenses around, you've got to minimize opponent fast break chances and things like that. So you don't want the live ball turnovers and the errors that, often occur when you're playing at a faster pace, especially when you're trying to create kind of a strong foundation for a lot of these young guys, second and third year players or rookie players. And that's exactly what Ime Udoka managed to accomplish kind of in that first 2/3 of the season, and then decided to kind of open things up a little bit more post All-Star break and generate some of those easier opportunities. So the Rockets had actually kind of already started this bit of a stylistic shift. Now, unfortunately, they lost Alperen Sengun likely for the rest of the season, although it wasn't reported as a season-ending injury. But for all intents and purposes, he is more than likely not coming back this year. He had a pretty scary-looking injury at the end of regulation against the Sacramento Kings in their win on the road. It looked almost Paul George-esque the way that he landed on his leg, and it looked like he hurt both his ankle and possibly hyperextended his knee. Thankfully, Alperen Sengun avoided major injury. He's only going to be out for about a month or so, which should, carry him out, unfortunately, to the end of the regular season. But no serious injury, no ligaments torn, nothing broken. Now, because of that, though, and because Sengun has been the Rockets' best player all season with a large portion of the offense kind of flowing through him, the Rockets, by necessity, have had to kind of adjust even further and lean into this new kind of space and pace identity that they started to kind of adopt post All-Star break, where they really emphasized playing with a lot more pace. They increased the volume of their three-point shooting. Even though they're not a great three-point shooting team, they're a team that realizes that Alperen Sengun commands a double team pretty much the moment he touches a basketball, or he's going to score on you in single coverage, or at the very minimum get to the free throw line. He's just been that good this season. So they increased their volume of three-point attempts coming out of the All-Star break, I should say. And after losing Alperen Sengun, rather than just throwing another big into the lineup and starting, Jock Landale and just trying to make do there, the Rockets actually leaned even more so into this identity where they have since gone small. They've moved Jabari Smith Jr. to the 5 spot and inserted rookie phenom Amin Thompson into the starting lineup, who's been an absolute Swiss Army knife on the floor, doing a little bit of everything for Coach Ime Udoka, guarding, at an absolutely incredible level for a rookie, probably the best rookie defender that we've seen since Herb Jones a couple years ago, a guy that should absolutely at some point in his NBA career get many All-NBA defensive team nods throughout his hopefully very long NBA career. But throwing him, out there and being able to have a 1 through 5 that switches everything defensively has really caused a lot of chaos for some of the teams that they've played. Now, it's a very small sample size right now, only games against the San Antonio Spurs, the Washington Wizards, and most recently a very good Cleveland Cavaliers team. But in that 3-game sample size, the Rockets have done a really fantastic job defensively honing in on opponents and limiting their offensive opportunities. The point of attack defense has gotten considerably better, kind of back to the way that it was earlier this season when the Rockets were a top 5 defense, and for a while there, the number 1 defense in the NBA this season. They've since slipped a little bit. They're still maintaining a top 10 defense, hovering around 7 or 8 currently, but kind of getting back to some of those earlier roots that they had this season before they kind of struggled a little bit there. They had some injuries, dealt with some adversity kind of in the middle part of this season. And offensively, they've had to change things up to where without Alperen Sengun, who is such a big part of their offense, Ime Udoka has always preached an equal opportunity offense, but Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green have both really stepped up in a big way without Alperen Sengun. And this is something that we've seen for the past couple years, and it's happening yet again, where Jalen Green's post All-Star break numbers have been incredible through his first 2 years of his NBA career, and they continue to do the same here post All-Star break in his 3rd season. He's averaging just under 22 points per game, shooting 37% from the floor and 83% from the free throw line, 44% overall. You'd like that number to be a little bit better, but he is doing a much better job finishing in and around the rim. He looks a lot more comfortable in the offense. Bringing in Ime Udoka and adjusting the Houston Rockets' way of play or style of play from these past couple years under Stephen Silas, when they were losing, 50, 60 plus games a season for the first couple years of Jalen Green's career. It's been a really big adjustment for his play style, trying to play winning basketball. And we're starting to see the benefits of Ime Udoka kind of trying to break him down and build him back up as a new player, where he's doing all the little things. He's hustling. He's making the right reads defensively. His point of attack defense has gotten a lot better. He's arguably a plus defender now after being a net negative defender throughout the majority of his career. His offense can still be a little inconsistent at times as he struggles to, keep that 3-ball consistent in his repertoire, but he's gotten a lot better at understanding tempo and how to change pace when attacking the basket, finishing around bigger, stronger players, absorbing contact around the rim, and he's really stepped up as the Rockets' number 1 option with Alperen Sengun no longer in the lineup. And when you look at all the adversity that this Houston Rockets team has faced this year and what Ime Udoka has accomplished with largely the same group as last season, the Rockets' marquee free agency signings were bringing in Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks, who have absolutely been difference makers, but are not by themselves the reason that the Rockets have elevated to a top 10 defense. Ime Udoka came in and really turned this team around from being one of the laughing stocks of the NBA to being a really respectable franchise and organization again, with legitimate hopes here to push for the final spot in the Western Conference play-in tournament chase, because they're only a handful of games behind the LA Lakers and Golden State Warriors right now for that final play-in spot, currently 3 games back in the loss column of the LA Lakers. And when you consider that the Lakers have been dealing with kind of this hodgepodge of injuries over there. You know, guys like AD and LeBron have been game to game and, you know, missing other key contributors. There's a very real possibility that the Lakers could find themselves falling out of the play-in tournament bracket, and the Rockets, with their hot play as of late, the way that they're playing here in the month of March, and hopefully to round out the rest of the NBA regular season, they're very much on pace to win hopefully 40 games this year, which is insane considering that their Vegas over-under win total coming into the season was 31.5 games, and they've already crushed that, hitting 32, and they very realistically have a path forward to hit 40, despite they just lost their best player in Alperen Sengun. They currently also have lost Cam Whitmore, who's been sensational as a rookie and somebody that Ime Udoka has leaned on quite a bit. And earlier this season, they lost Tari Eason, who's an absolute difference maker, especially on the defensive end of the floor. So when you look at the adversity that this group has faced, an incredibly young group, a group that did a lot of losing for the past few years, being completely honest, for Ime Udoka to step in as a year one head coach and make them a top 10 defense and giving them a shot here, you know, in the final 15 games or so to push for a Western Conference play-in spot after being a top 4 lottery team the past 3 years running, that is a complete and insane turnaround for an organization to make in just one season. And I think it absolutely warrants a discussion for Ime Udoka to be at least in consideration for the NBA's Coach of the Year award. I'm not saying he should win it. I think that honor largely will fall to either Chris Finch with the Minnesota Timberwolves or Mark Daigneault with the OKC Thunder, two coaches who have done an incredible job with their respective organizations. But when you look at where the Rockets were and where they are right now and where they have the chance to finish this year, I think he absolutely has to at least be in the discussion for Coach of the Year. So for more Houston Rockets musings and breakdowns, you can track me down over at Locked On Rockets, wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube.